grab a seat because we are running a tight ship today. We're going to keep to this agenda. So welcome back. I trust you've all had a good lunch. I trust you have broken out your silo and you found someone to speak to that is not just to share and think differently and change the lens to collaborate. But and I also, this morning, has been really stimulating. I have to say, you know, it's so important, isn't it, that we're recognising some of the narratives, some of the ideology, some of the thinking that is a break, actually, on how we really accelerate social rent homes, how we really accelerate building a healthier society. And we may not all agree politically, and that's fine. And actually, that's also really important that we don't all agree. But we have to work how we build with or around. and those will be choices we need to make together. But the point is, that's the context we're working in. There are people that get this and are passionate, and there are people that think we should leave it to the market. I think I know where I sit. So I think this afternoon we're going to kick off in a slightly different context, tenure, if I may say, and I'm delighted we've got Tom Copley here with us this afternoon, Deputy Mayor for London for Housing and Residential Development since 2020. Tom oversees the Mayor's two affordable housing programmes, including Building Council Homes for Londoners, which was launched in 2018, which was the first ever City Hall initiative dedicated to supporting council home building in every borough of London. And I've had a bit of a privilege to just grab Tom for 10 minutes, and I have to say, here is a man who's passionate about this and is committed. And I know that Tom is really interested in some of the ideas and some of the thinking that's going on in this room. So Tom, we're delighted to have you with us. We'll have a presentation, then Tom's very kindly is also prepared to take some questions. So hopefully Tom will be given a slightly easier ride than our former guest. But Tom, welcome.
Thank you very much, Jez. And I'm not here for an easy ride, but you know, I might be giving you a slightly different take and a slightly different perspective. I think that's great. It's good to have a variety of views, I always think. And it's lovely to be with you this afternoon for this summit, and in particular to discuss the importance of social housing and the pressing need to address London's crisis in temporary accommodation, and it is a crisis. While we need more homes of all types, including private market housing, there is a particular need for social and other forms of affordable housing in London. Since 2016, Sadiq Khan's planning policies have seen the proportion of affordable housing on schemes approved by the Mayor rising from 22% to 45% by habitable room, which is an extraordinary rise. At the same time, his affordable housing funding programmes have seen a return to social rent after it was effectively abolished under the Johnson Mayoralty and the Cameron-Osborne government. When Sadiq Khan took office in 2016, there was a pipeline of just three social rented homes in the GLA's funding programmes. Yet in the final year of his 2016 to 23 affordable homes programme, more than 15,000 homes at social rent levels were started on site. Most striking of all has been the return of London boroughs as developers of council housing. London boroughs are building more new council homes than at any time since the 1970s, and in recent years have started more council homes than the rest of England combined. The failure of the previous government to address the root causes of London's housing crisis means it now affects the lives of most Londoners in some way. At the real sharp end, of course, are the 12,000 people who slept rough on the streets of London in the last year, and the 1 in 21 children who are homeless and living in temporary accommodation. Now that's one child in every average London classroom. Last year, I visited the Magpie project in Newham, which works with mothers and children who are living in TA. Many are living in accommodation without a kitchen, meaning they can't cook proper meals for their kids, who are becoming malnourished. This is truly shameful in one of the richest countries in the world. As well as the terrible personal impact the TA crisis has on homeless households, there is also an enormous financial cost for councils. London boroughs are now collectively spending more than £100 million a month on housing people in temporary accommodation. And this accommodation, of course, is too often substandard and overcrowded. Now, if you add up the cost of this over a year, that's more than the annual budget the previous government gave us for building new affordable homes in London, which is an absurd situation. Now, City Hall has been doing everything that we can to assist boroughs through our funding programmes. In 2021, the Mayor launched his Right to Buy Back programme. This enabled councils to buy back properties they once owned that were sold off under Right to Buy, or indeed any private property for sale, to be brought back for use either as social housing or as temporary accommodation for homeless families. Of the nearly 1,300 homes bought under this scheme, around half were for TA specifically. In 2023, this programme was replaced by the Council Homes Acquisition Programme, which also supports councils to buy homes for use as social housing or as TA. We're also looking at how we can support some more of the more innovative TA solutions that housing associations and private developers are working with local authorities on. And here I specifically refer to some of the proposals for temporary MMC modular housing as a meanwhile use on vacant sites that can be used as high quality TA, and I believe there's an example of this sitting outside this building. City Hall was previously a supporter of the temporary modular place scheme, which unfortunately was unable to get past a prototype stage. But there has been much learning about what did and did not work about Place's model, which has now informed the designs of some of the new proposals that are coming forward. Now, while homeless people and households are the worst hit by London's housing crisis, more and more Londoners are affected by it in some way. Private rents have soared, taking more money out of renters' pockets and forcing increasing numbers of Londoners into poorer quality housing and unhappy flat shares. Higher interest rates following the Liz Truss mini-budget have hit homeowners with mortgages, and thousands of Londoners are still trapped in unsafe homes with dangerous cladding and other building safety defects. The housing crisis and the lack of social housing means less money spent in local high streets because it's going on rent, more people becoming ill, both mentally and physically, children doing worse at school because they have to keep moving home and because there is no quiet place to do their homework. It's also a crisis that holds back London's productivity, reducing labour mobility, forcing longer commutes, and making it harder for businesses to attract and retain talent. To solve the housing crisis is to start to solve many other problems at the same time. So therefore, there is both a social and an economic imperative to fix it. The good news is that fixing the housing crisis is a top priority, both for the Mayor of London and the new government, which, as you know, has set an ambitious target of building 1.5 million homes in this parliamentary term. As part of this, Angela Rayner has promised to deliver the biggest wave of social and affordable housing for a generation. The political alignment that we now have between government, the Mayor and a majority of London boroughs presents us with a moment of maximum opportunity. Now, there's no doubt that our planning system needs reform to create more certainty, particularly for smaller and medium-sized home builders, who now account for just 10% of the homes built in London, which is down from around 40% in the late 1980s. City Hall will be embarking on the process of creating a new London plan, which will have housing at its heart. But planning reform alone won't move the dial enough to get us up towards the housing needs assessment of 88,000 homes a year that the government has calculated for London. The fact is we need more investment, both public and private, into London's housing sector. The Mayor is working to secure a substantial long-term affordable homes programme post-2026, alongside a new City Hall developer investment fund, which will be mainly recyclable and allow us to offer loans, equity investment and infrastructure funding. We also need the green light for key transport infrastructure projects such as the DLR extension to Thamesmead, which would unlock 30,000 homes alone, along with the West London Orbital, and the Bakerloo line extension. But the Mayor and government are both clear that we also want private investment too, where this can boost delivery, particularly of affordable housing. The recent growth in the size of private RPs in London has provided some much needed extra delivery at a time when traditional housing associations have faced growing challenges. And these challenges are many. The finances of the social housing sector have been buffeted recently by Brexit, regulatory uncertainty, rising financing and materials costs, and the cost of fixing the building safety crisis, combined with years of social rent settlements not being honoured. If social landlords are to both invest in existing stock and build the new social rented homes that we need, there are some fundamentals that need to be fixed to put them on a sustainable financial footing. I'm delighted that ministers are consulting on a new long-term rent settlement after years of uncertainty caused by previous rent settlements not being honoured. But alongside this, we need rent convergence and access to the building safety funds for social rented homes. The quid pro quo is that the sector needs to be ready to ramp up delivery as fast as possible should these key fundamentals be forthcoming. The Mayor and ministers will expect all of us to pull together and demonstrate that crucial early delivery. There's a real sense of urgency here for the sake of all those Londoners who need a decent, secure and affordable place to live. Londoners like the woman Sadiq and Keir Starmer met during last year's London mayoral election. I know it seems longer than just a year ago. She and her child had just moved into a new council housing block built by the City of Westminster with funding from the Mayor's Building Council Homes for Londoners programme. She told us that her child took their first steps in the new flat, having previously been in temporary accommodation that was far too small. What a wonderful example of the power of new social housing to transform lives. So my commitment to you is that City Hall will be using every lever. I've just moved that on, haven't I? I knew this would happen. My commitment to you is that City Hall will be using every lever at our disposal to support the delivery of more homes in general and social rented homes specifically. This includes using the Mayor's power to call in planning applications and reconsider them where there are sound planning reasons to do so, as the Deputy Mayor for Planning did recently when the London Borough of Tower Hamlets refused more than 1,500 homes, including hundreds for social rent, on the Aberfeldy Estate Regeneration Scheme. The Mayor also has a commitment to explore the creation of new mayoral development corporations where these would boost delivery, a commitment that could align well with the government's commitment to establish new towns. And our commitment to establish a City Hall developer will open up opportunities for public-private partnerships, something there's a keen interest for in the sector. As a housing investment authority, local planning authority, and with the Mayor's role as Chair of Transport for London, City Hall is uniquely placed to drive housing development and regeneration. To do so, we will need to work closely with boroughs and the private sector. It's only through collaboration and partnership that we can rise to the scale of the challenge of building the social rented homes that we need and fixing London's housing crisis. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Copley. That's amazing. And I look, there's a lot that we're going to chime with. So again, we've got about just over 10 minutes, and so here is an opportunity just to dive into the detail behind that sort of high level. So we've got a roving mic question there. Ellen, just one here, be great.
Hi there, thanks very much. My name's Alice Brown. You mentioned the role of MMC for temporary accommodation. What do you think the role is for permanent social housing with MMC?
What I would like is for MMC to become used much more commonly across the building sector. I think it's something that that there was a sort of flurry of interest in an activity a few years ago. It didn't quite take off for various reasons. I think a number of London boroughs who were very interested in developing new council housing as MMC were hit by some unfortunate cases of companies going bust, which caused some anxiety. But I do think that we need to return to trying to get more homes built using modern methods of construction. Frankly, to get to the scale of building that we need to get to, and the government wants us to get to, we have to be using MMC. It won't just be traditional build. So I can see a role for MMC, across the board, not just in delivering temporary accommodation.
Is there any way you can encourage that more? Sorry, I'm
Okay, if we could have an orderly show of hands.
The key thing is we've got to build pipelines. We've got to build pipelines. There's got to be some standardisation. I think those are going to be key things.
Ellen, one right at the front, and then...
Tom, thank you very much. So standardisation, I had to put my hand up there. So Tom, surely there's a role for the GLA in stewarding standardisation across London authorities, even if it's... trying to galvanise LPAs in terms of a common approach to MMC, procurement, a programmatic response to housing delivery, these sort of elements that allow us to smooth out, not just for MMC, the pipeline of visible demand for people to deliver into. Is there something you might say about how the GLA might help or enable on that?
Yeah, I think we want to. I think also, though, there's a key role for national government because, of course, this isn't just London. This has got to be, solved nationally. So I think that a lot of, in terms of standardisation and things like that, I do think that some of that does have to come nationally. There are probably things that we can do, and we have tried to do through our affordable housing funding, for example. And I'm always open to ideas for the role that the GLA can play.